of fate.
This is the way. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Tells me when you'll tremendous.
Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optix podcast, where we take a glance into blockbusters, indie films, and everything in between. I'm your host, Christian, and today I'm here to review House of the Dragon, the complete first season on 4K Blu-ray, which is now available to purchase at your local retail store. And before we begin today's review, I'd like to thank Warner Brothers for sending me a review copy for the purposes of this podcast episode. And before we begin today's episode, you can listen to our podcast on podcast platforms around the internet. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. And if you are a new or seasoned listener to the show, we would love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Instagram and follow us on Twitter at Film Optix. That is Optix with an X, or you can email us at filmoptix@gmail.com for any movie related questions. So if you're new here to the show, welcome. Just wanted to go through a bit of the itinerary that we're going to be hitting on today for House of the Dragon, the complete first season. Again, we are reviewing the 4K Blu-ray here today. So the way that this usually works is that I get into my initial reactions about the series as a whole. Then I'll get into the picture quality and my thoughts on that. Then I'll head into the audio and then the special features. And then I will be giving my final thoughts and whether or not you should be thinking about adding this to your physical media collection. So with all that said, we'll be right back after this introduction to House of the Dragon, the complete first season.
The dream. It was clearer than a memory. And I heard the sound of thundering hooves, splintering shields and ringing swords. And I placed my heir upon the Iron Throne. And all the dragons roared as one.
I consider the matter urgent. That of your succession.
Who else would have a claim?
The firstborn child.
Rhaenyra. No queen has ever sat the Iron Throne.
The king has an heir, Daemon Targaryen.
I will not be made to choose between my brother and my daughter.
And we are back with our House of the Dragon Season 1 4K Blu-ray review. Again, the review copy is provided by Warner Brothers. And as far as the price goes, there's actually a plethora of different prices of which you can own this amazing series. For the DVD copy alone, that'll run you around $45 US. The Blu-ray digital code combo pack will run you around $50 US. And then the standard 4K Ultra HD combo pack that comes with the Blu-ray and digital code will run you around $55 US. And if you want to get the Steelbook edition of the 4K Ultra combo pack, that'll run you around $60 US. So seems like there's a bit of a $5 increment in between. I was sent the limited edition Steelbook edition by Warner Brothers, so that is the copy that I will be reviewing today. So for those who are unaware with House of the Dragon, this is a part of the Game of Thrones franchise. It is a prequel series that is based on the material of George R.R. Martin's book Fire and Blood. And the House of the Dragon tells a story of the Dance of Dragons and the events leading up to the brutal Civil War. King Viserys, first of his name, rules over an unprecedented time of peace, but questions about his succession threatens to send the realm into chaos. So, as I have mentioned here before on the show, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. We have covered House of the Dragon every single episode 1 through 10 on a weekly basis. And if you want to check those out, you can definitely scroll through our episode list. You can find our spoiler-free reviews there. But as far as my initial reactions goes for House of the Dragon, this show, or at least this season thus far, is everything that a Game of Thrones fan could want. There's plenty of Easter eggs for longtime fans to enjoy, and it does a great job of introducing newcomers to the world of Westeros. The original series DNA is always going to be intact, giving the show its own identity so that you can dive into the series if you've never seen the original Game of Thrones show before. But I just gotta say, I was overjoyed to be back in Westeros. I believe that HBO has demonstrated that the enchantment of Westeros is still within their reach, and this show is now my favorite ongoing television series that is currently airing. And we finally get to witness the Targaryens and the height of their power. And of course, throughout this review, I will not spoil any narrative beats, but if you like the original series of Game of Thrones, know that House of the Dragon was made with you in mind. So let's dive into the picture of the 4K disc. First and foremost, I was astounded by how the natural light of the throne room and the King's Council chamber was enhanced by the black level depths of Dolby Vision combined with HDR. It is truly a different experience, and I felt as if I was watching the show for the first time. I am running a LG C1 OLED, and thanks to the Dolby Vision technology that is on the disc, as well that my TV is able to produce that type of picture, it was truly astounding. The color palette of this series is composed mostly of a warm hue with the combination of a earthy tone. But with all that said, you kind of have to remember that the world of Westeros is not a colorful place, so you're not going to see a lot of colors jump out at you. But when you do, they are very prominent, especially the reds, the yellows, the greens, and the blacks. But I must say, the lack of the brilliant colors complements the series' atmosphere and the tone. This is a fantasy show that is anchored in reality, and therefore the usage of natural and muted lighting is much appreciated because it makes the world of Westeros feel that much more real. It feels like I'm actually there watching these events take place, even though, who would really want to live in Westeros? I digress. But there is one moment in particular that I would like to focus on from episode 7 from House of the Dragon that is titled Driftmark, in which Rhaenyra and Daemon are strolling on the beach following a loss in the family. And this episode was pretty controversial when it first aired a few weeks ago. I think it's been a few weeks. Gosh, COVID, we're all losing track of time. Back when the show was airing, there were a lot of people who were complaining that they couldn't perceive the interactions between what was going on in the screen of said scenario between Rhaenyra and Daemon. And I must admit, when I first saw this sequence on HBO Max, it was pretty difficult to see, and I had to adjust my TV settings for the rest of that episode. But I am happy to report that the 4K disc has mostly remedied this issue. The interactions between Rhaenyra and Daemon are much more obvious in most images, but in some images it still remains a bit dull, unfortunately. This episode in particular was directed by Miguel Sapochnik, who also helmed the Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 3 review titled The Long Night, which received similar critique from fans due to mainly the lighting concerns once again. However, as I previously stated, for episode 7 for House of the Dragon, aka episode Driftmark, it is a step higher over the original version that is now streaming on HBO Max. But keep in mind that this also depends on the sort of TV of which you have that will impact your watching experience. So unfortunately, there are some scenes that can't necessarily be fixed 100% of the way, even when a show and or movie makes the leap to physical media. Like I said, it is an improvement from the HBO Max version, but it's still a little hard to see. That's all I'm going to say. You know, that was a creative decision. I don't necessarily agree with it because not everyone has a top of the line TV. A lot of people are still rocking a standard 1080p television, much less maybe just watching on their laptop. So that's just my 2 cents. But overall, I think that there is a nice improvement of that episode in particular over the HBO Max version. As for the audio, I encountered no problems with it whatsoever. The 4K Blu-ray disc includes Dolby Atmos True HD, which sounds fantastic. You can hear every horse's thundering hoof. You can hear every crash of swords against every plate of armor. And most importantly, the roar of every dragon sounds powerful and incredible. And we all know that House of the Dragon is nothing without its political dialogues, every speech, every discussion that happens within this world. It is a very dialogue heavy series. So I'm pleased to report that the audio mix is extremely crisp. I could hear every discussion, every speech without fail, every monologue given, every dragon's roar shook me to my bones. And I'm extremely impressed with the audio track overall because it provides a wide range of SDH alternatives as well as 5.1 Dolby Digital options in a variety of languages. And as far as the special features are concerned, there is about 73 minutes in total of bonus content with this 4K Blu-ray combo pack, including a Welcome to Westeros and Returning to the Seven Kingdoms featurette, as well as a Before the Dance featurette and illustrated history with George R.R. Martin himself, including numerous of other bonus content to keep even the biggest Game of Thrones fan satisfied. So as far as my final thoughts for House of the Dragon Season 1 on 4K Blu-ray, I believe that it is worth every single penny. Like I said, House of the Dragon is everything that a Game of Thrones fan could want. The picture quality is immaculate. The audio is superb, and you get a amazing amount of bonus features with the Season 1 4K Blu-ray. Not a lot of Season 1 packaging that I've seen so far comes with a lot of bonus material, but for House of the Dragon, I say you're getting a pretty good chunk. Like I said, that is running around 73 minutes. So that's a little bit over an hour of bonus content that you'll get for Season 1. And like I said before, I absolutely love this world. I love the world of Westeros. And as I mentioned before, we did cover each episode week to week on the podcast, so you can definitely scroll through our older episodes that we released earlier in the year, so you can go and check out our amazing reactions. But as I've said before, HBO has demonstrated that Westeros is still here, that they still have more stories to tell, and I think this is a great package for any Game of Thrones fans, especially for the holiday season. If you're looking for a gift to give to a Game of Thrones /fantasy fan, here you go. It's available in DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K UHD as well. So, and also there's the digital option where you can buy it on video on demand on places such as iTunes or Vudu or Amazon Prime Video, things of that nature. So honestly, there's a lot of different ways that you can gift House of the Dragon to your friends and loved ones this holiday season. So with all that said, that concludes our House of the Dragon Season 1 of 4K Blu-ray review. Again, I would like to thank Warner Brothers for sending me a review copy of this amazing series so that I can spread and share the love with all of our listeners out there. And if you like what you heard on today's episode, please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform of choice, and make sure to share an episode of our podcast with a friend, whether it be your mother, your brother, or your significant other. Make sure to share an episode of the Film Optix podcast with a movie lover in need. And with all that said, that is a wrap for today. Thank you all for listening. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay in the know. I'm your host, Christian, and I'll see you guys in the next one.